true self is without form.
What's up everyone, Darcblade here with the next episode in our Agents of Overwatch series, where we take a look at the heroes in the game, going over their lore, ability, pros, cons and more. In this episode we are going to take a look at the former member of the Shambali group, the Omnic monk, Zenyatta. Tekhafa Zenyatta is an Omnic monk who spent most of his days wandering the world in search of spiritual enlightenment. Constructed 20 years ago, Zenyatta was a member of the Shambali, a clandestine group of Omnic monks who had a spiritual awakening, breaking their mundane programming and set off in search of a peaceful life. They believed that, like humans, Omnics possessed a soul. However, Zenyatta would come to disagree with the group and his brother Mondata's approach to bringing harmony between Omnics and humans. He believed that repairing the relationship between the humans and Omnics was not through dogmatic and religious teachings, but through interpersonal connections and engagements. This led Zenyatta to split from the group and follow his own path. Leaving the monastery in Nepal, he would wander the world, helping those he met to overcome their personal struggles and find inner peace. At some point before Zenyatta left the Shambali, he encountered Genji Shimada, who had recently left Overwatch and was conflicted over his cybernetic body. Though Genji initially rejected the wisdom of Zenyatta, the benevolent monk would not be deterred by Genji. In due course, Zenyatta became the mentor for Genji, and under the monk's tutelage, the ninja reconciled with his dual existence as both man and machine. Zenyatta, proud of Genji, now considered him to be one of his brightest pupils. Despite Zenyatta's disagreement with his fellow Omnic monks, he was saddened to hear of the assassination of Mondata, the Shambali leader, and Zenyatta's fellow brother, at the hands of Talon. Despite the assassination and tensions between humans and Omnics rising once more, Zenyatta continues on his personal mission to try to make peace where he can. Now, moving on to take a look at the weapons and abilities Zenyatta wields. Zenyatta is a 3-star difficulty support hero. He has 50 health and 150 shields. He has an average movement speed and is an average target size. Zenyatta also has the passive ability to levitate off the ground slightly. This allows Zenyatta to move silently, giving him an edge when faced with players who listen for incoming foes via their footsteps. Zenyatta's main weapon are his orbs of destruction. These floating orbs that orbit around Zenyatta are his main source of damage. They can be used in two ways. The primary fire function will cause Zenyatta to command a single orb with the wave of his hands, sending it streaking across the battlefield at high speeds. These are linear projectiles, so keep in mind the basics of projectile weapons when firing. Each orb will deal 46 damage to their target, more if you're able to land a headshot. The rate in which Zenyatta can send forth his orbs are 2.5 orbs per second. Zenyatta can also fire up to 20 orbs before needed to reload them, albeit not reload them in the traditional sense, but more like recharge them. The secondary fire of the orbs of destruction is also known as an orb volley. Instead of firing off a single shot, Zenyatta will charge his orbs of destruction by holding down the fire trigger. It will take a while to charge up, but after 2.5 seconds of channeling his energy, Zenyatta will unleash a volley of multiple orbs, up to a maximum of 5, in the direction he's aiming. These count as multiple linear projectiles in quick succession. Moving at the same speed as a normal orb of destruction, they each deal 46 damage, but if fully charged, the volley can hit up for 230, more if you're able to land a headshot. Using this means of attack will cost 5 orbs out of Zenyatta's 20 per volley, and much like the primary fire will take 2 seconds before needing reloading. Depending on how much charge Zenyatta puts into the volley though, the rate of fire can either be between 1.1 second if uncharged or 4 seconds if fully charged. Despite the potential damage of the secondary fire, it can be difficult to use this reliably, especially in the middle of a fight when compared to the orbs of destruction's primary fire. They are best used when you can anticipate an incoming enemy. Apart from that, the primary fire for the orb of destruction are normally better than the orb volley in most combat situations. All of Zenyatta's orb of destruction attacks can be enhanced and made more deadly thanks to his second ability, which we'll cover in a minute. However, Zenyatta's first ability is his orb of harmony. Zenyatta is a support role and one of the few healers in the game. Orb of Harmony is Zenyatta's way of healing his allies in battle. When you target an ally, you will have the option to throw an Orb of Harmony at them. The orb is classed as a targeting homing projectile, meaning that by simply aiming in the general direction of an ally means that the orb should reach them as long as they are no further than 40 meters away. Once attached to an ally, the orb will float by their side, healing them for 30 health per second. The orb will remain active on Zenyatta's ally for as long as the ally remains in line of sight, that you don't cast it on another ally, or that ally dies. If an ally does break line of sight, the Orb of Harmony will return to Zenyatta after 3 seconds. Alas, Zenyatta can only have one Orb of Harmony active at any one time. There are two ways in which Zenyatta can tell that his Orb of Harmony is in play. First, by the floating light blue half yin-yang sign above an ally, or via the yellow active arrow above the ability button in the player's HUD. While Orb of Harmony gives Zenyatta a healing tool, it is by no means the best, especially when compared to the other support healers in the game. That being said though, it can be a good way of protecting and topping up key allies on your team like tanks and flankers. Zenyatta's second ability is his Orb of Discord. This functions similar to the Orb of Harmony, but instead of healing allies, the orb debuffs Zenyatta's opponents. So when an enemy is highlighted red, Zenyatta can throw an Orb of Discord at them. This targeting homing projectile will then seek out that target at high speeds. When it reaches its target, it will attach to them. The purple floating orb will then debuff its target, making that target take 30% more damage from both Zenyatta and his allies. Again, like the Orb of Harmony, the Orb of Discord has a similar restriction and limitation. For example, it can only be cast on foes up to 40 meters away. You can only have one active at any one time. Zenyatta will be able to tell who has the Orb of Discord on them via the red half of a yin-yang symbol above the enemy's head, and only while you are in line of sight of opponent will the Orb of Discord remain active. If the opponent should move out of the line of sight, the Orb of Discord will return to Zenyatta after 3 seconds. However, Zenyatta can use this to his advantage, as for those 3 seconds he can see the red symbol through the walls, giving him, and potentially his team, if he's communicating, an idea of where the target is going, if he's retreating or looking to flank. A general rule of thumb is to put the Orb of Discord on the highest priority targets you're facing. If you're communicating with your team as well, it is a good idea to call out who you put the Orb of Discord on, so your DPSs can focus fire down that target. Zenyatta has one achievement and trophy linked to Orb of Discord. It's called Rapid Discord, and requires a player to get 4 kills or assists with Zenyatta's Orb of Discord within 6 seconds in quick or competitive play. This is one of the hardest achievements in the game to get, and only with luck, pure skill, or a very kill efficient team is it possible. I was able to get it, and the tips I can give is to remember to aim at weaker targets and orb them first, and when they're dead don't forget to orb each target in turn. Zenyatta's ultimate ability is Transcendence. Once activated, Zenyatta will transcend to a higher plane of existence for a short period of time. He announces it by saying,
"Experience tranquility,"
or
"Pass into the iris,"
if an enemy Zenyatta uses theirs. After which, Zenyatta sprouts 6 spiritual arms, and he will no longer be able to use any of his attacks or abilities in any way, but instead will become completely immune to any incoming damage. He will also give off an intense healing aura to those near him. The radius of the aura is 10 meters, and those within it will be healed for 300 health per second. Zenyatta will also have his movement speed increased to 11 meters per second. Unfortunately, Zenyatta will only be able to stay in this state for 6 seconds before returning to normal. Transcendence is one of the best ultimates in the game to counter enemy ultimates. For example, say an enemy Zarya uses their Graviton Surge, while at the same time an enemy Genji uses their Dragon Blade. A Zenyatta's Transcendence can completely negate the damage effects of both these enemy ultimates, saving not only yourself but your team. This makes Transcendence one of the ultimates that should really be saved for big pushes, where you know ultimates are going to be used. Some Zenyatas will panic Transcendence to save themselves, and while this is fine in casual play, in competitive and serious matches, this can be a complete waste of a very useful ultimate. Transcendence though can be useless against high damage explosive ultimates like Diva's Self-Destruct or Junkrat's Riptire. This is because the damage is one big blast, where Transcendence cannot heal through. Also, an enemy Ana's biotic grenade can stop the healing effects on your allies if she is close enough to land the grenade. The best tip for Transcendence is letting your allies know when it is ready, especially on defense. It also helps to be aware of any allies who have counter ultimates, like Lucio's sound barrier, as using both at the same time can be a little bit of a waste. Zenyatta has one achievement and trophy tied to Transcendence. It's called The Iris Embraces You, and requires a player to restore 1500 health with a single use of Transcendence in quick or competitive play. Once you get used to using Transcendence to counter enemy ultimates, this achievement should easily come to you. While every hero can take on every other hero in the game, there are some matchups that are clearly in a certain hero's favour. Zenyatta is a hero that balances healing and damage. His orbs though are where he can shine. High health tanks such as Roadhog or D.Va can be burned down more quickly if you can land an Orb of Discord on them. Reinhardt is also a target worth putting an Orb of Discord on, and while it may be difficult due to his shield blocking the initial application of Discord, it can be worth keeping an eye on Reinhardt for that opportunity. This is because Reinhardt is a main tank, and often removing him can leave a lot of his allies open to damage. Zenyatta also synergizes well with heroes such as Tracer and Genji, if they can keep popping into his line of sight to allow him to put Orb of Harmony on them to keep them healed. Zenyatta can be countered though. Due to his low health, almost all flankers have an easy time against him. These include again Tracer and Genji, and Reaper. Winston can also have an easy time diving him and keeping on top of him, burning him down in seconds. Lastly, snipers like Widowmaker can easily pick off Zenyatta from afar, especially if he's caught unaware. Of course, player skill should always be taken into account. Just because a hero should easily be better than another hero on paper does not mean that will always be the case during a match. The pros for Zenyatta are as follows. Firstly, he can both heal and deal damage. Next, he can regenerate most of his own health thanks to most of his health being shields. Next, he has a powerful debuffing ability, and he has one of the best counter ultimates in the game. However, his cons are that he has a small health pool, and being a 3-star difficulty hero can be tricky to master. Zenyatta was one of the last heroes added to Overwatch, and the idea for Zenyatta came from a piece of omnic concept art. He takes a lot of cultural influences from the Buddhist religion and parts of the world that Buddhism is prevalent in. The Shambhali, the group Zenyatta was a part of, and their temple in Nepal could bear resemblances to Shambhala, which Buddhists and Hindus believe is a mystical kingdom of peace and tranquility. Zenyatta's outfit bears similarities to Buddhist and Hindu culture as well. Even the 9 dots on Zenyatta's head is taken directly from Buddhist culture in some parts of the world. The background behind Zenyatta's orbs are that they were hand-carved at the Shambhali monastery and serve as a way of channeling omnic energy into them. Zenyatta uses this to both channel his positive and negative energies. Lastly, the name Tekhatha, with both Zenyatta and Mandata sharing the name, could be related to the name Buddha had before he reached Nirvana, which is Siddhartha but with a Tek instead of a Sid. Overall, Zenyatta, like his beliefs, are a balance between offense and defense. He can be used in both of these situations, providing healing for your team while throwing out debuffs and damage to your enemies. While Zenyatta may not be the strongest damage dealer in the game, he is definitely one of the best support heroes at throwing out the DPS. Just remember that you are a support as well, so you do have healing abilities, so don't neglect this and get tunnel vision when it comes to dealing damage with Zenyatta. His ultimate, like I mentioned, can be one of the best defensive ultimates in the game. It can counter most enemy ultimates and prevent team wipes. However, knowing when to use it can take practice. Keeping an eye on what is going on around you with ultimates and pushes can help your timing with Transcendence. Zenyatta's healing is not the strongest in the game, and if Zenyatta was the only healer in the team, things can get a bit rough for the player. Not impossible, but it will be hard to keep everyone's health high. When it comes to self-healing, remember that 150 points of Zenyatta's health are shields, and thus these will regenerate after a short period of time while not taking damage. This means that you don't always have to rush to health packs that other members of your team could better use. Zenyatta also struggles when opponents are able to get close to him. This is because he lacks any defensive or get out of jail abilities. The only real defense he has is to try to outdamage the opponent who is on top of him. but due to his low health this normally ends poorly. With that in mind, when playing as Zenyatta, try to stay close to your allies so you don't get caught on your own without support to help you. In a perfect setup, Zenyatta should strive to achieve balance in both their healing and damage output. This way Zenyatta will shine and become a stable element in your team's composition, helping to prop up everyone. Anyway, I've been Darcblade, bringing you my Agents of Overwatch guide to Zenyatta. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.
Play of the game.